So what was it about this story that made you want to initially write the screenplay?
It was just a weird idea that I had for a scene in particular that's like the climax of the movie that I kind of wrote as a little short film, and then over time, sharing it with people, with community members, with other filmmakers, it sort of grew and grew and grew from there.
Now, you have a supernatural element to the film, but you also have a grounded relationship. When you were writing, did you want to focus on the grounded relationship first, and then supernatural element came from there? How did you approach the screenplay structure?
The structural approach was actually more inspired by indigenous oral storytelling. So it's not necessarily one before the other. More like holistically, it was all at once. All came out in whatever order it desired.
And what was the biggest challenge in directing the film?
Uh, Everything. It seems like it's always everything's a challenge, but like balancing all of those elements is very difficult, especially when a film set works it's quite rigid and regimental. So it's sort of like make sure there's space for like that magical stuff, those like little hidden relationships.
Given the indigenous nature of the film, how is it for you being at the Toronto Film Festival, showing it and premiering it here in Toronto?
Mind blowing, fantastic, amazing. I won't believe it until it happens, which it will in an hour or so. So once it's over, I'll probably be walking around like with a dazed look on my face.
When you first read the screenplay, what was it about the story and your character that said, you know what, I've got to play in this movie?
So there was something very, very clear about Misael's character, this sort of hidden strength, this very, I guess, quiet sort of strength that spoke to me that was very hard to execute, I think, just on paper. And I really wanted the chance to bring it to life. I really wanted the chance to bring Misael's inner sort of dialogue that I think speaks to a lot of what queer people today may be struggling with to a wider audience. And it was just so much fun to be able to put so much of myself in this character. It's something I haven't really done before, as much of myself in something like this.
What was the challenge of kind of balancing the supernatural elements, but want to also keep your character grounded in reality?
Oh gosh, that was a lot of relying on Bretten. There's a lot of relying because I will definitely take the supernatural stuff. I am a horror movie junkie. I love those conventions, but there's such subtlety and such, bending of genres that it was very important for me to talk with Bretten and just know how to balance it all. I give full credit to Bretten. They were just an absolute pleasure to work with.
When you first read the screenplay, what was it about your character that emotionally grabbed you and said, you know what, I've got to play in this movie?
I think I've never read a lot of like native leading men roles, and I think exploring like the indigenous perspective from like a masculinity standpoint is so interesting to me. And like the character being a father, but also having sort of a complicated relationship with his brother, I think is something that we don't see explored in film, but also just in general in Indian country. I think having men be able to connect with each other in this way, whether it be in real life or in film, is really meaningful. So that's immediately what drew me to the project.
So you mentioned the emotionality of the characters I want to talk to you about. Did that help ground you in your character so you can have kind of fun with the supernatural part?
I think, yes, everything I do has to be grounded, but then once you have the character and you have the grounded thing as an actor, you can have fun in the genre, which meant a lot of black fungus in this one. Yeah.
And what does it mean for you bringing this film, the indigenous film, based to the Toronto Film Festival and premiering it here? What does that experience mean to you?
Canada's been extremely good to me, and I've been all across this beautiful country, and premiering our film in Toronto is just special because it is a Canadian film and it is taking place here. The crew is from here, and we're happy to be here.
Okay, so my question is, so what was it about this story that emotionally grabbed you? You said, I want to come on board to compose it.
There was so much. I think the themes of time and water and ancestors and just knowing Brett and their work previously with Wildhood. I had been involved a little bit and had my music a part of that film as well. So I just knew that they held our stories and our culture and our language so beautifully. I come from a neighboring nation, so I'm from Wolastoq, and they're from Mi'kmaq. So, but our cultures are really connected, and our languages are very similar. So for me, it felt very good to have the language so woven throughout the story, and then because our indigenous languages are so musical, and so for me as a composer, finding a way to highlight that and capture that was an exciting challenge. And this is my first film, so it was you got to kind of figure it out as you go. But they trusted me so much to do that, and I'm so appreciative. It felt really good. And to have it filmed also in our territory, out east, that was really exciting as well.
From the composing standpoint, what was the challenge in trying to balance the supernatural elements but keeping the film grounded in reality and using music to help you with that?
Well, that's the question, It was a difficult one to answer. I think I built this score with my producer and dear friend Devin Bate, and we talked a lot about using organic instruments, and not really. There's so many ways to create a horrorscape, or to create that tension in sound. And it's been done so many ways. And so to find a pathway through something that felt organic and felt fresh, that was a challenge. It was, but I'm so proud of what we came to, and we were surrounded by so many amazing improvisers and collaborators that brought the soundtrack together. So I'm just I can't wait for people to hear it. I'm super excited.